Hi, the gender photographer here with the third and last part of my mini lecture series. And in this part, I'm going to tell you about my story, why I decided to become the gender photographer, and also, by extension, why I think it's so important to analyze the gender stereotypes we face every day in mass media. And well, as I said, we have them all around us. We have them in advertising pillars, from magazine covers, book covers, everywhere. We have images that convey messages about how you're supposed to be an attractive or normal man or woman. Images and messages that can be very limiting for us. And well, as a gender photographer, I try to be aware of all the different choices you can make as a photographer unconsciously when portraying a man or a woman, because of all these images you relate to, all these images you have seen, practicing and working to become a photographer yourself. But I wasn't always aware of these different patterns. My background is in journalism, and I worked as a freelance journalist and a freelance photographer since I was a teenager, actually. I wrote different chronicles for the local newspaper in the town I lived in. Guy or Girl, Not an Easy Choice is the title of this chronicle. And it was about, if I was born again, would I choose to be born a woman or a man? So I was interested in subjects like this. But when I then studied journalism at university and started to freelance for different magazines in the real magazine industry, then I ended up, for some reason, in very stereotypical workplaces: entertainment magazines, technology magazines, video games magazines. And in video games themselves, for example, the most typical hero and main character is a silent, hard, very rough-looking man who solves every problem with his fists or a gun. And if he has a colleague, female colleague, not often the case, but if he does, she's often dressed like this. And her name is actually Quiet. I'm not kidding. Technology magazines, you have kind of the same pattern there. Men actually using products and technology. Women caressing themselves with tech gadgets. Or I don't know what she's doing with her iPad mini in this picture. But I myself noticed, even though I was interested in gender roles, wrote about that in my early chronicles, I still repeated gender cliches. And I became gradually aware of this, that I took pictures of women with a high camera angle. And if you do that, you make people look smaller since you're looking down on them, less threatening, less powerful. If you portray people with a from below camera angle, it tends to make the person look bigger, more important, more powerful. And well, when I photographed video games producers, I made sure that the male video game producer was portrayed in his office with his war toys in his background. Then you can clearly see that, okay, he's producing war video games, while I portrayed a female video game producer like this. Just a big, lovely, sparkling smile. You have no clue what kind of games she produces. And eye contact, I almost always made sure that the woman was looking into the camera, confirming the viewer with their gaze, while I often came from photo shoots of men without a single picture when they looked into the camera. So I was really disturbed by this pattern. Why can't I ask men to smile or look into the camera and pose? in different ways. I just let men be, while I take a lot of time and energy to pose, ask women to pose in different ways. So this is why I started the blog, The Gender Photographer, to teach myself. And the first thing I did was analyzing pictures in mass media, anything I could get a hands on, really. Cookbook covers, for example. Here you see two clear gender roles also in these cookbook covers. A woman smiling like an angel with a sparkling smile, head tilted to the side. She's sitting behind a mountain of food. And then you have a man who looks like he's about to blow smoke in your eyes. Not as welcoming body language. He stands up. That's another clear pattern you can see in mass media, that women often sit down while men often stand up. A way to show a force of action, power of action. In the photo exhibition and in the guidebook, I have listed 10 common gender cliches to avoid or reverse or challenge in your photos. I mean, when I give recommendations for governmental institutions like municipalities, I wouldn't recommend just reversing the roles, but it can be a good method to be aware of the gender cliches, to be able to avoid them, or finding a nuance that just feels more personal, more genuine. Because if you portray someone in a stereotypical way, oftentimes the result is that you only think, oh, a manly man, or a beautiful woman, that you don't really see the person. The communications director at the city of Gavle, who in the beginning greenlit this project and made it possible for me to work with the city of Gavle for 2 years, creating this guidebook and creating this photo exhibition. When we did an international version of this photo exhibition, I asked him, oh, would you like to be in the exhibition? Maybe I can use you to illustrate some feminine gender cliches. And he said, of course. What do you want me to do? So I let him pose in this very cute feminine perspective with a from above camera angle. But I think this image just looked very good. It's a good image of him. I think he looks like an approachable boss that actually listens. This I also think look like an available boss that actually listens and that you would dare to talk to. Come, Tomas, let's talk about your salary. And then, of course, we had to also try a more objectifying, sexualizing imagery. So we switched to a blood red sofa. And it was so funny because he analyzed himself while doing the different poses we explored. And he said that, well, if I would have my hand on my shin, that could be an acceptable pose for a male leader to do, but playing with your lips, that's not something you're supposed to do as a male leader. And then the final pose, I think we really nailed it. And we used as inspiration real photos of successful and powerful women. And we tried to top them and create this pose and this photo that I call posing like a boss. A photo that actually inspired his own kids. The evening after this photo session, he sent me images of all his 3 kids posing upside down in different sofas and couches. So he became an influencer. And if you want more inspiration, you can visit genderphotographer.com to read about more projects I've done, find more photos. Thank you for listening, and good luck with your own challenging of gender stereotypes and norms.